Pope Francis on Sunday may have wept, and a lot of people believe that Jesus, too, would be weeping today. Those words from Christopher Dickey in an article entitled, "What Would Jesus Do in Gaza? The Tears of Pope Francis Point the Way." Christopher is a foreign editor for the Daily Beast. He joins me from Paris. Chris Dickey, nice to see you again. And just in reading your piece, this isn't the first appeal for calm and peace in a conflict like this, but do you think, coming from Pope Francis there at the Vatican, do you think this can make a difference this time?
Well, I think Pope Francis is probably the most charismatic leader in the world today, and I think people will listen to his emotions as well as to his words. Cardinal O'Malley of Boston told me not too long ago that this is a pope, this is a man who speaks in gestures, and his tears themselves were a kind of a gesture. I don't think he was acting. I think they were absolutely heartfelt. But I think for the Pope, the pontiff, the head of a billion Catholics, to stand up in front of the world and to blink back tears as he talked about children who can no longer smile, who never even learned to smile, I think that that is a message that people do begin to listen to. Maybe not enough people, but I think a lot of people do listen.
Let's talk more about the listening, because you write this in the column. But when Palestinians did protest peacefully, when they did march, when they did endure the clubs of the dreaded Israeli border police, who paid attention to their moral authority? In truth, almost nobody. Not the international press, not the public, and not Obama. I mean, you talk about the peace and quiet. Do you think now what we're seeing is this the only real way Hamas can get anyone to care, to pay attention, to listen?
Well, there's a terrible trap there. You have people, you have thousands of Palestinians, maybe millions of Palestinians, who wish that they could protest peacefully and get some kind of result, and yet it hasn't happened. It's never worked for them. Partly it doesn't work for them because there have always been firebrands among them who say, no, we've got to take it to violence. We've got to do something terrible here or nobody will pay attention. I'm not sure that's the case. Just recently, there was a march of 10,000 people on the West Bank in support of the Palestinians of Gaza. Now, if that had not degenerated in violence, if those 10,000 people had sat down and faced off the Israeli troops instead of throwing rocks, having kids throwing rocks at them, creating a situation where the Israelis opened fire on them and could justify opening fire on them, then I think, that might have had a different effect. But it takes enormous moral force to launch those kinds of protests and to pursue them. And it also takes the world paying attention in the way that, frankly, we haven't paid attention.
We have seen a lot of children deaths in the Palestinian conflict, in Gaza, for example, and it was the Pope speaking about children when he got emotional on Sunday. And I'm just wondering, Christopher, bigger picture and thinking of previous popes, I mean, how often does the world see a pope weep?
I don't think the world, in my experience, has seen a pope weep like this. I've seen a lot of popes going back to John the 23rd, and I've seen them get angry, and I've seen them be kindly, and I've seen them wax a little bit emotional at critical moments. But I've never seen anything quite like this. This was not an off-the-cuff remark. The Pope was reading a passage that he had written down, and as he got to those words about the children who couldn't smile, you can see him blinking back the tears. And I think he was genuinely moved. I think he hopes that we'll all be moved, but I think that he, the man, Bergoglio, Pope Francis, I think he was genuinely moved. And I think in his prayers, he is hoping that something can be done to end the terrible violence all over the world, and not only in Gaza, also in the Ukraine, also in Iraq. I think we all have the feeling that the world is, to use a phrase, just going to hell right now. And I think the Pope would like people to try and pull it back from the brink.